Howdy everybody, Dave here with Nelson Creek Farms, welcoming you back to another episode here that we got going on. Only today we're not at the farm. Well, we are at the farm, but not at the normal farm. Today we are just a few miles north of Twin Falls, across the Snake River Canyon, and in Jerome County here in Southern Idaho at the Jerome Historical Societies I-Farm, or Idaho Farm and Ranch Museum. Got a lot to see today, so let's jump right into it, because this is going to be probably a little bit longer than normal video. I find it a little difficult to believe, but I used to own that old truck that's sitting here with the sign on it. Yeah, it was a 1946 model, I believe. The flathead V8 in it, all the usual. Yeah, that used to be our old farm truck out at the farm 18 million years ago. This old contraption is a wooden hay derrick. They would tilt that cross beam back and forth, and using horses pulling cables would grab a hold of hay here, loose hay, and stack it up in a big pile that looks something similar to a loaf of bread. Yeah, that was something they did way back in the day. Anybody that's been following Elvis over at Old Red Tractors will appreciate that. That is an old outdoor chicken run. And if you haven't seen his video series yet on how he's making his new chicken coop and run, you might want to check that out. So check out Old Red Tractors on YouTube. Here's a bit more modern version of the thing. There's actually chickens in that one, and you can see they've been taking their dust baths out here in the dirt. Yeah, that's how they get rid of their mites and lice and whatever else they might have. Yeah, just like a regular bird out in the wild. There's several old pump jacks laying around out here in the woods, including one of the old Armstrong jobs that is still attached to a well. Don't know that it works, but yeah, it's all sitting right there. There's several old wagons here on the grounds that are indicative of what was used in the area. In fact, the family came out in something very similar to this one here in the front. In fact, they had two of them, and it was the sideboards that made up the sides of the thing that the old outhouse was made up out of. I found this sign hanging from the underneath of this old International that was run by Garrett Freight Lines 18 million years ago. Yeah, and yeah, it does run. It's how it got here. Here's some of the lineup of the old trucks that are on the show here, including the old Peterbilt that's standing there running. And then we end up with this beautiful little Robin Egg Blue GMC across the line over here. Now this pretty little GMC was built in '59, has a diesel engine in it, and it's been modified a tad bit. And it's got some of the Antique Tractor Club's pulling tractors sitting on the flatbed of it, ready to go for the pull when they get around to doing the pull today. Now here's a beautifully restored KB7 International from the mid to late 40s. Yeah, very nice looking truck. International trucks must have been a big thing out here in the West, because here sits a 1951 International semi-truck, complete with a fifth wheel deck still on the back end of it. Now here's a fun one. It's a late styled WC Alice Chalmers with the road grader attachment put on the front of it. I believe they called it a Speed Patrol or something to that effect. But yeah, there's one sitting here. And from the looks of the blade down there, it's got a little bit of shine on it. So I'd say they've been using it around here, grading the driveways and whatnot. Well, here's an old threshing machine. Looks like it could still be put back into use, by golly. Yeah. It's now owned by the Jerome County Historical Society, and it looks like it's in actually pretty decent shape yet. Walt Benzinger has since passed away, but his collection consisted entirely of John Deere machines, so that's why it still says John Deere up the side of that. But yeah, now that he's passed, all his stuff is here at the I-Farm. I'd have loved to have had this little Alice Chalmers roto baler if it was working out at the farm, but I can't afford to have downtime, so that's why the new mini round baler. This is one of the later models with the wing top up on top that covers all the mechanism, the belts and springs and whatever. But yeah, we'll take a peek inside of there. You can see all those belts and stuff in there. That's what they used to roll the hay up with inside of this thing before it tied some twine around it and spit it out the back end back here. My friend Dale Canterbury owns this 1951 John Deere R, and he may have something to do with this Massey Ferguson sitting next to it. Along with that 1951 John Deere B. It comes with a Roll-O-Matic front axle, which made them easier to steer and ride over the ruts in the ground easier. Unfortunately, people have been out here robbing parts. They got the cover off the flywheel, they got the dash apart here to remove heaven only knows what, and they even took the steering wheel off the steering column. The one thing they haven't grabbed yet is the 3-point hitch off the back end of the thing. Dirty, rotten, sticky-fingered people anyway. Here's some noisy critters honking around here. Yeah. There you go. Some goslings. Got a young calf sitting right here in the pen. Hi kiddo, how are you? Yeah. Yeah, gotta get some loving in on you, and some little pot-bellied baby pigs or something, and some bantam chickens over here pecking around in the weeds. Here's something you don't see around here very often, is a cockshut. Yeah, I used to own one of these. It was a Model 30. I think this one might be a tad bit bigger, but I can tell you I'm not getting any closer because the carburetor's dripping over there. They've got to shut the gas off. The Magic Valley wouldn't have been the Magic Valley without some magic water getting into the area to make things grow around here. So right here we have a slightly modified tractor type V-nosed ditching plow that used to make irrigation trenches and ditches to come into the area with water to supply the farmland. Plus we have another one over here that's been converted into a 3-point hitch affair. And back here, this one's a fun one. My granddad actually built one of these back in the day. Mounted on a tractor's 3-point hitch, had a long PTO shaft come back here to this wheel, and that wheel would spin and dig the ditch for you. Yeah, kind of a neat thing. You just didn't want to stand downrange of whatever it was flinging out at you, because if it picked up a rock or something, it was going to throw it at you. Right back there is another V-wing ditcher that was built for a 3-point hitch, but right here in front of it we have some potato diggers and sugar beet lifters. Yeah, these were all walk-behind equipment that was modified to be pulled by a tractor at one point in time, except for that one. I think it's still got its little nose wheel and stuff on there, so I think that one was for horses as well as this one. Plowing here in Idaho can be problematic, especially if you hit a big rock and you're going that way. You're probably more familiar with cement mixers with that shape of barrel on them. This one's designed to be tipped over by hand. It's a rather large machine, but sitting right next to it's even a bigger machine right here. That one would have been powered by a big hit and miss gas engine or something. Yeah, you'd load your stuff in up here, it'd go into the drum turns, and your finished concrete would come out right there. In fact, there's still some cement stuck here on the discharge chute. Yeah. This American LaFrance fire truck was part of the Twin Falls Fire Department at one point in time, and it was running till a few years ago. Unfortunately, like most things out here, it has been robbed of parts and pieces. Of course, this one still has a great big old, what is that, 8-cylinder flathead engine in it. Might be overhead valve, can't hardly tell. Yeah, it's overhead valve if you could see in there. Sitting out here in the open though, yeah, that's not being very kind to this truck. And as you can see, them sticky-fingered people got to this thing too and have been removing parts and pieces off of this truck to do heaven only knows what with. Yeah. Remember what I said about internationals being popular in this area? Here sits another beautiful example. And believe it or not, it even still has its original hubcaps on it. Now this is what they called a prove-up shack. This is what they usually had around early farm homesteads around the area. I'll take a picture of their sign here, and you can pause this video and read all about it. Anybody care to do some laundry in the old laundry tub? Wash on one side with soap and water in the scrub board and rinse on the other. Well, hopefully you could read that. Anyway, this was an original homestead when you made a claim out here in the Idaho area, in the territory. Yeah, it consisted of basically a bed, a table, some windows, and you had a little wood or coal burning stove set in the corner to help keep you warm. Of special interest that makes this worth a lot of moolah are the old newspapers stapled to the wall. Here's one for you. Pontiac Red Rocket, a demonstrator of Pontiac's finer performance, and their Big Six for $745. Yeah, look at that car. That's early 30s. Yeah, let's see, what is the date on that? There it is, right there. Yeah, so this wallpapering was very typical of the homes, the prove-up shacks back in the day, just to help keep down the drafts, to keep it warmer in one of these. And here comes the start of the tractor parade around the area. Nice little Farm Mall Super A right there. Don't know who the owner is. And we have a Farm Mall B in, it looks like. I've heard there was another one floating around in the area. I think there's one more that I know of with a single front under it that I'd like to get my hands on. And Oliver Super 77 follows that up with a single front. I know where that tractor came from. Yeah, it used to be sitting in my garage for a while. Then it sold, and I think this guy that owns it now is about the second owner after me. Here comes Larry Loffmiller in one of his big Minneapolis Moline Model G. Hi, Larry. Not sure who this nice lady is. She's driving a real pretty Model 80. And we have Rex Shaw coming up with his Minneapolis Moline. And we have a Massey Harris. He's out of Richfield, Idaho. And then of course we got Boyd Harms and his modified V8 powered Oliver. And Paul Borges in his Model D case. He's been out the farm and played plowing in the dirt a few times. Then we have Rex Studevin on his little Gibson. Then we got a nice little 4020 or 4030, or sorry, 430 John Deere right there. Here comes the gentleman on his hard to start super flooded cock shut Model 40, I believe it is. Got a nice young lady on a 404 International. Single wheels were popular in this area for row crop work. There's a nice Farm Mall H. Followed up by a nice M with a early wide front axle under it. And yep, that old WC Alice road grader, it does run. Here it comes, following up the end. There you go, some real horsepower going by today in the parade lineup. These tractors will all be in the tractor pull a little bit later, except for the WC with the road grader attachment on it. They aren't allowed to do that sort of thing. There's something you don't see much of anymore. A little bit of sheep shearing going on here today even. Yeah, they got electric motors up in those little red boxes up here at the top, and then the cable down to the cutter down here. Basically like a barber's electric hair clippers. We're gonna see Rex take off here as soon as the crowd gets out of the way with his little D. Gibson. Thanks, Rex. See ya. Love that tiller steering on the silly little things.
Hey, Jake, what do you think?
Great little machines. Hunt building. Yeah. This is something from Idaho's darker past that we will cover in another video regarding the Japanese during World War II. An interesting thing about the Lickley residence right here and their big red barn was they were about 3 miles due north of me, and they hauled them all down here with a house moving company. Put them up on display down here at the I-Farm. It's a shame to see some of these tractors sitting out here in the boonies, especially when you see them with what was good tires on them at one time. They were running examples that have been hauled out here and left to rot. Personally, I'd like to have one of these 2Bs out at the farm because they've got the adjustable wide front end under it to go with the other B that I have with that arched front axle. And I'd like to have this Alice with the modified rear spacers to go with my collection, because that would give me an adjustable wide front to go with my single front Model C. Years ago, I personally knew the manager here at the farm, and I was trying to talk him into letting me have that to restore it, to bring it back here to the farm to store in the Lickley barn, because as you can tell, this John Deere A is a real oddball. It's a really rare streamlined version that had a lot of X numbers for all of its parts. It'd be like 705DX. So yeah, this thing was an experimental model, pre-production, so to speak. Sadly, before I could finalize the deal on getting my hands on that John Deere to restore it for the I-Farm, the gentleman that I knew passed away, so that whole deal fell through. And now the tractor's pretty much vandalized. It's missing all of its X numbered parts, or pretty much most all of them. I'm not sure if this case boiler was part of a power unit or a tractor, but I don't see any hardware on the top of it to mount the motor or the engine to, so to speak. Something like this old Alice Chalmers combine would be nice for out at the farm, or even this old case one that's sitting over here. I could use either one of them to thrash some wheat so I could have some feed for some chickens. I've got all manner of combines floating around out here, even some early self-propelled John Deeres sitting there. Plus out in back here, you can't really see all that well, there's a bunch of binders and reapers and that sort of thing sitting out back out there. Yeah, the place is kind of loaded with old iron, just rusting away, sitting out here in the weeds of Southern Idaho. Here's another one of those Canadian-made cockshut tractors sold through the co-op stores here in the States. This is the E3, or a Model 30 if it was a cockshut. They sold them through, or Gamble's Farm Crest was one of the names, co-op was another one that cockshut sold their tractor line through. And normally the co-ops were all orange, and the cockshut and Gamble's were cream wheels with red sheet metal and motors and that sort of thing. Real pretty little tractors, and had a lot of neat, unusual features, like a live PTO, which was one of the earliest tractors to feature such a thing. Got a collection of Olivers sitting here, and an unrestored Farmall A, and some tools, all by Harry Sanders and his What's It board. Yeah, so if you can guess what those tools are, you might win something, maybe. There you go, 3 different sizes of Cubs, all owned by Al Barkle over there. He's working on something that he's got going on there. That nice fella is pushing his mid-upper 80s, and he's still going strong, collecting tractors and taking them to shows. And then, of course, we have the hit and miss motor collection showing up, running everything from corn grinders to water pumps today. Wouldn't mind having something like that out at the farm for next time there's a power failure. Just have to have a little bit of fun with your toys. Now there's kind of an oddball in this community, Silver King. Kind of rare at any show, no matter who you are and where you are. Idaho's famous for its potatoes, And this Old Farm All M is attached to a 1-row potato digger and harvester that's on the back end of the thing here on the trailer hitch. Yeah, kind of an interesting setup. Bunch of steel chains, what they call digger chains, knocks all the mud and dirt and whatnot that you can see in there off of the spuds or sugar beets. It'll dig either one. They drop off here into this, go under into the tub here, and out and up into a waiting truck to be hauled off to the plant or to the potato cellar, depending on what it is you're digging. Really kind of sad to see stuff getting robbed of its parts, but unfortunately that's what's going on out here at the I-Farm. That's going to wrap it up for this episode from Jerome, Idaho at the I-Farm and the Jerome Historical Society. I'm waiting on some French fries coming out of this nice little place here. Here they're killer fries. So anyway, I'm Farmer Dave wishing you all well, and as always, don't forget, right down there, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. We'll catch up with you later and hope you enjoyed the show. Bye-bye for now.